So, welcome everybody. It's really lovely to see you all. I'm really excited to be able to do this session with Rossi, and I thought I might start by just mentioning a little bit, because we've based this session on our book, For the Love of Games. I thought I might just mention how the book came about. Some of you will know how it came about, but if you don't know, it grew out of really Rossi and my obsession with playing games in our everyday life. We both have many years, probably most of our lives, loved playing various types of games. And it was a sort of thing that we realised we had in common. And we realised that we had played some games in our Alexander training. Kathy Madden comes to mind, and some residentials that we did with her, but in many contexts. We also knew quite a few traditional games, children's type games, and we knew other games, or we designed our own games as well, as part of our teaching of group classes for Alexander technique. And at one of the residential sessions, which David Moore, our director of our school, held annually up at a place near Melbourne, Rossi ran a session on playing games, and she just played a whole lot of games all in a row. And at the end of that, at least half of the participants in that session said, "Oh, Rossi, those games were great. Could we have copies of them, please? Could we have a list of what they are and how to play them?" And so we basically had the idea that we just make a little booklet so it looked a little bit more accessible than just a list. And from that, with the help of a lot of other people, came the book. It was absolutely a joy to work with Rossi on the book. And we had a great deal of help from some other people, and I'll quickly mention them because some of them are here. David Moore wrote us a beautiful foreword. Peter O'Mara was really instrumental in the layout of the book. Isabel Knowles, who's not here, but who's a Melbourne artist, was absolutely fantastic with the illustration she did for us. Connell Parsley, who's somewhere in the house where Rossi is, but not on screen, did some proofreading and some editing for us. Jana Boranova, who's not here tonight, but who's a wonderful Alexander teacher, did a lot of the kind of turning the text into a copy you could send off to be published. And Craig Morley, my partner, did a lot of proofreading for us. So thanks to all of those people, we were able to put together the book. And we decided to keep it fairly simple. We had a discussion and we decided we wouldn't tell people how they could play the games. We just share a simple version of the games with perhaps a few suggestions that of things people could look at, but generally in that sort of Alexander way. We didn't want to make our limitations of how we saw the games being played apply to everybody else. So if other people had different creative ways of playing the games or using them in their own practice or their teaching, we were really happy about that. We'd always love to hear about that. So we didn't want to limit people by just putting our thoughts about it. So what we're going to do in today's session, is play 4 or 5 games from the book. And we're going to allow some space at the end for sharing experiences, asking questions, or whatever else you feel like chatting about, discussing how we might use the games, that sort of thing, rather than doing it after every game, because we only have a short time and otherwise we'll sort of probably only get through 1 or 2 games. The first 2 sessions are often, oh, by the way, yes, if you have a question during the session that is a burning question, for example, I can't see you anymore, you've gone offline, or I can't work something out, then yes, either text us on the chat or unmute yourself and ask. Questions like that, absolutely fine, or any other burning question, basically. So the first 2 games we traditionally do in semi-supine, but we didn't let you know that we might do them in semi-supine, unfortunately. So what we're going to do is do them while sitting on a chair, because I think that will work just as well and be easier. So we're going to start with game 1, which is a very simple little introduction to something about the Alexander technique, and it involves you sitting comfortably on your chair, as you all are doing now, or your stool or the floor or whatever you're sitting on. And what I'd like you to do is just take a moment to get comfortable And I can see a few people are getting comfortable. That's good. Just notice that you can feel your sitting bones under your pelvis resting into the chair. So there's a sort of sensory input coming in there, giving you some information that you're supported and that you're present sitting on the chair. Very good. Now what I'd like you to do is to just let your eyes move beyond the computer and find something in the room to look at. It can be a view out the window would be ideal, but if not, you can look at the window itself, you can look at an ornament on the other side of the room, your couch. It doesn't actually matter for this exercise. But I'd like you to continue to notice that your sit bones are resting on the chair, your feet are resting on the floor, you're breathing, and at the same time, let yourself be slightly curious about the object you're looking at. So it's almost like you're doing two things at once. You're aware of yourself, but you're also looking at the object, and you may be noticing, oh, it's an interesting colour, or look, it's got a little pattern on it, or there's some light and shade on it, but you're not losing contact with the fact that your sit bones are resting on the chair and you're remembering to breathe. So just take a moment to perhaps let your eyes gently move around the object. Let your eyes be lovely and soft. And then when you're comfortable that you're looking at something that's far away, not just the screen, and you're aware of yourself, then we're going to up the degree of difficulty a tiny bit by asking you to also invite your neck to soften. A lot of you are probably doing that automatically because you're Alexander teachers, but it's just a nice little reminder to keep your eyes on what's out there. Let your sit bones rest on the stool or the chair, and just let your eyes soften and your feet gently spread onto the floor so that you're both ends you're softening. You're softening your neck so that your head can release a little bit from the gripping on top of your spine, and you're softening your feet so that they can rest on the floor. And that's really, and then just let yourself gently move your eyes back from the object and back to the screen if you want to keep paying attention. That is that little exercise which is kind of designed to give people the experience of being able to do two things at once. Think about themselves and be out in the world in some way. So it's very simple, but I like it a lot. We're going to move on now to a different game, which Rossi's going to lead us in. And it's another one that you can play sitting on your stool, although normally I think both Rossi and I would do this one as well with people lying in semi-supine, because we're both big fans of semi-supine, but it will work just as well on the stool.
Okay, so as you're sitting there, notice your sitting bones. Notice the slight wave of panic because people can't get in, and let that go. And then as you're sitting there, from your sitting bones, you think up along your spine, all the way to behind your nose, nice and easy, soft shoulders, soft neck. And you can have a thought, but I just want you to think it, so you don't have to do it this time. And you can have a thought of lifting your hand and touching your nose. Just have a thought of it. Think how you would do it. Think which finger would you use. Think if you'd have, a gentle hand or a heavy hand. Now that you have thought of touching your nose with a finger, oh, John, you have been dog bobbed. Let that go of the thought. And now for the second round, you can choose. You can choose if you want to touch your nose or not. So in a second, I'm going to ask you to have a thought about touching your nose with a finger. And when you're ready, you can touch your nose or not. And off you go. And let go of that. And again, noticing your sitting bones on the chair. Noticing your head resting right on top of your spine, the space behind you and above you. And then this time I'm gonna ask you, can you please touch your nose with a finger? And when you're ready, go for it. Nice. And for the last one, I'm gonna ask you to have a thought of soft and easy, lots of space for breathing under your armpits, the back to your back. And then you can touch your nose again if you want. So you make your choice, and when you're ready, you can go and touch your nose or not. Good. So I played this game the first time with Imogen Uragone, and it was lying down with lots of different movements. So this is a version that I do on Zoom because it's a bit easier and it's possible to see people as they do it. And we said we would discuss all the game at the end, right? So I'm just gonna move on to the next one. But just notice how you're breathing and how you felt about those little instructions so that you remember it at the end when we may go back to talk about it, if we want. And I'm going to give it back to Anne for the next activity.
Thank you, Rossi. So the next game is going to involve us actually getting up and walking. You may go off the screen, that's fine. We don't have to see everything that you do, but if you're in a very small space and it feels as if you don't have any room to walk, then you can just walk on the spot. And just like the preceding game, there's going to be a couple of different instructions, and you're just going to notice what happens for you when you walk with these instructions in mind. So the first thing we're going to do is stand up and just take your time, come into standing. I'll stay sitting because then I can see what I am doing, but great. All right, so I'm just going to ask you to walk around your little space or your larger space. And what I want you to think is, I have to do this fast and I have to get it right. So that's your first instruction. You're walking, you have to do it fast and you have to get it right. Okay. Fantastic. Well done, everyone. Now, if you want to come back, I assume you can hear me. Can you hear me still? Someone give me a thumbs up. Can you hear me? Yes, thank you, Helen. So the next walk, it's another walk, but your instruction to think about this time is, I can't do it, I give up. So just go for another little walk. That's what you're thinking. I can't do it, I give up. And have another little walk around. Noticing how that makes you feel, and what it does to your coordination. Terrific. All right, that's great. Now, just coming to a spot where you can hear me again. That's it, great. The last little walk you're going to do, the instruction for this one is, I'm at ease with myself and I have all the time that I need. So if you just have another walk, thinking to yourself, I'm at ease with myself and I have all the time I need. Just see if that's different from the other two and how it makes you feel. Lovely. Well done, everyone. Looking great. All right, so if you want to come back and sit down in your own time, that would be great. Beautiful. So just having a seat, and I'm going to hand back to Rossi now. We're going to segue from that walking game into another game that we sometimes do walking as well, but Rossi has a special Zoom version of which I think is really good. So over to you, Rossi.
So there is a game that is walk and stop, and I absolutely love it. And it works very well when you have got like a group of 50 rowdy children and they all get very quiet because they want to listen to the instruction and they want to get it right. So the game is when I say walk, stop, and when I say stop, walk. So it tricks your mind because you want to do the thing that you are told. And some words are more powerful than others. So I find that left and right is less confusing. People think about it, but then they do the right one. But stop, and you have to walk. There's always the moment you go, so there is a lot of giggle coming up. So my Zoom version of it is you and me, because those are quite powerful too. So if you imagine you're in an Italian drama and you go, me, me, go with me, me,
Me.
me. And then you go, you. You. It was you who finished the chocolate. Very good. And then what I'm asking you to do in the game is first choose a person that you can see on the screen now. So they don't know you have chosen them, but they are your partner. And I've done this game with someone who had a very bright colored top. So 11 people chose that person as their partner. So that was quite interesting how, but you choose a person and they are your partner. So you're playing with them. So when I say me, you point your finger. But when I say you, you go to your chest. Are you ready to play? Very nice. If you've got a partner in a room, you can play with them. I think there is a couple of people. So you can play with them or you can play with the screen as you prefer. Ready? Okay, I'm gonna go you and me and me and you, me, me. In the hang of it. And me. And you. And you. Me. Very nice. And I'm gonna unmute a random person. Whoever got Yana. I can't unmute you. I can unmute. Haha. Who can I get? And go for it. Call the next ones.
Okay, so me. And you. And you. Me. 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 And you. And you.
There we go. Someone had to get it wrong. Okay, thank you very much for playing this one. It's interesting how a very large group of Alexander Technique people will keep calm and go through it very easily.
I know, very noticeable, isn't it?
There is, we did well, we are perfectly on time. I've got two very quick ones and they are super quick. So it's something that you use to prove your point on the bus where I'm explaining something, or at the gym where someone is going and not really understanding what you're talking about. So one is as simple as make a fist and make it quite tight. And then just notice that, yeah, that's the fist, but also you've got quite a lot of tension in your elbow and what's happening in your shoulder. And often you can see even the jaw of a person going a bit. So keep the fist there, but let it go. A bit of your arm, a bit of your armpit, a bit of your elbow, a bit of your wrist. So it's still a good fist, it's still a very scary fist, but there is less work in it. And it can be used in quite a lot of ways to explain tension. And the other one, do you want to do that one, Anne? Cross your arms.
Cross your arms. Yes, okay. So I think this is a movement that we're all quite familiar with. So we're just going to cross our arms in front of us. And very nice, beautiful. Now we're going to let that go. So just let your arms come back by your sides. This time we're going to cross them. If you had your right arm on top last time, you're going to this time have your left arm on top. So just cross them again and try the other way. And
we lost Alex on that one.
It's not quite as easy. I mean, we've probably done that in an Alexander class somewhere along the line before, so we might be slightly better at it than we were, but it's still really interesting how the habitual way feels so right and easy and natural, and the other way you really have to think, oh, how do those arms fit together? Oh yes, that's right, that goes there, that goes there. And you can even do the same thing if you want to with the little pose that children do on their desks at school where you have your hands clasped. I'm doing it there. So if you want to just clasp your hands like you do, probably not these days, but you might have done in your school days on your desk, and one thumb will be on top. And now let that go, wriggle your fingers a bit and clasp them with the other thumb on top. And you all look very good. But for me, that's quite tricky. I have to really stop and sort of approach with care as the hands come together. So, I mean, there are little things to show people what a habit is in a way, little games that show people that the sort of things we do automatically can be quite strong in us and that they feel normal and natural and right, so we don't even really notice we're doing them. So yes, they're just little other exercises. Final thing is a lot of the games in our book are actually games where you play with more than one person. So what we're doing here is picking out the games that are appropriate for just playing on your own, because there are quite a few of those as well, but there are more sort of, if you like, group games where you can go a bit more wild than you can on Zoom, and we really look forward at some stage in the future to playing those with you as well. But for the moment, that's our little Zoom set of games. It's 5:25 here. That must mean 9:25 or 8 if you're in Europe. So what we thought we might do now is unmute people, because you may want to share something that you noticed during those games, or you may want to ask a question about how one could use them or anything else. Just a little bit of time for talking about the game. So if Rossi can unmute us, or we can unmute ourselves, that would be great.
It's probably better if people unmute themselves when they're ready.
Okay.
So just put your hand up. Yeah, I think okay. Are you going? Bye, lovely. Thank you for making it. So if you're ready to talk, you just put your hand up, unmute yourself and go.
Hi, Rossella, and this last one with crossing the arms. Yeah. I think, Roselli, you did it a few weeks back in maybe the first or the second game Zoom.
Yeah.
And I noticed then that it was quite difficult with crossing the arms. And now I've just been swimming and I found it really easy. And I wondered if that has influenced it, that some kinds of activities where you use both sides of the body make it easier then.
It probably is, and if you practice it, it gets easier and easier. I'm noticing the difference less and less. I still notice it, I still have got my favorite side, but I do remember how weird it was at the beginning. And yes, there are times that I notice it more and times that I notice it less. So there is definitely something about what you were doing, I presume. Other people have got an experience about it. I honestly just get a very good giggle when people can't do it. And I find that in a group setting works beautifully because it's something new and kind of works like a coffee for the brain. What is this? What am I doing? And people wake up. So even the person that was sitting at the back of the room thinking, I know everything, you can't say anything that I haven't heard before, goes, oh, this is interesting, maybe. Well, at least I've learned a trick that I can play on other people. So sometimes it's more about getting attention and getting people to have a thought about, you know, something that could be new, both as a physical experience and as knowledge. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Bridget. Yep.
I'd just like to make a comment about that. I think your idea of using it to show people how strong habit can be is really good. But an observation, when my son was born and he was, you know, up on the change table and just newborn, and, you know, you take the nappy, put the nappy on and so on, he would immediately fold his legs and arms. And I thought, well, this comes from in utero, the way he was folded up in the last period of pregnancy. And I think actually the material has grown in that alignment. And I think that's why, even though we work on these things, that remains with us for life. So
Yes.
that's just an angle on it. And it's the arms as well. He used to just go into this, and being an Alexander teacher at that time, I was very struck with that. I don't know about the hands one, but I suspect that's something to do with the way the arms fold. But I still think it's a very good example to use to show how strong patterns can be.
Yes. Oh, that's the best explanation I've ever heard of it, actually.
Just caught the moment when it happened, and it was interesting.
Nice.
It's
Yeah,
very,
it's so
very
strong, isn't
interesting.
Thank you. And I think Shelley wanted to say something. Lost you? Yeah, you're down there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hi, everybody. I was
Hello.
going to say that I really like the me, you, and I like it in walking as well. I think it brings up all those issues about being right, getting it wrong, you know, all of the things we know that it's devised to do. And I was looking for some games to teach or to use as tools with a student I've got who's 12, a girl who's 12. So this is going to be great because I was looking for games we could do, you know, just not group games, but one-on-one sort of games. So, you know, I'll join her in it. Obviously, I won't go, well, you know, you got it wrong. I'll let her make me the bunny as well. So thank you. It was great.
Nice. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. It was so
Hi.
nice to see everybody. Yeah, it's already time, I think. So I think I can talk next time. That's okay. It's already past.
Yes, we stay 2 more minutes to recover the time we lost at the beginning because we started a couple of minutes late, and then we'll say it's finished. And whoever wants to stay can stay for the after party. I'll just stop the recording. Yes, Alex, what did you want to say?
Well, first of all, yeah, I totally agree with Megan. I'm now watching, witnessing, and bit of recording my second grandchild. And the amount of information we can receive from the little babies when they're growing up, it's just amazing and enormous. How they're moving, how they're sitting, how they're standing, what they're doing, how they're doing,
Yes.
how they're turning. All biomechanics, they just like in a book, everything. So that's great. And yeah, in terms of games, the one with walking, I really enjoyed it. It's actually, for me, it's more was about how our mind controls our actions, and how by thinking differently about the same action, they can breathe differently.
Yes.
What going inside our body when we're thinking different things about the same thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's something that's I will incorporate pretty soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, I think you're going to be the last one. Sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to say that in addition to games like this, which are great, I play sort of silly games as well sometimes, or more like, which I'm sure, I haven't read the book, but things like relays. You know, you divide people into teams and you get one person from each team to be the timer so they know you're not fudging it. And then you get them to run this relay. The first time just going as fast as they can, like our walk. And then the second time, just because having taught them the principles of Alexander technique, second time being mindful. And then the third time being mindful to go fast. And it's amazing how that progresses. And when I started working with people who take themselves really seriously, like elite musicians, groups of elite musicians, I thought at first maybe, you know, I shouldn't do those, but in fact they work really well. So it doesn't matter how old the group is or how serious the environment is, it actually often provides light relief. I'm sure others of you who've worked in that environment also find the same thing. But I love going in there and you know, everybody's laughing and enjoying it, which is often, you know, counteractive to what the environment often is. But it's the element they need to bring into it to make it fantastic. So yeah, thanks a million.
You're very welcome. And again, I think we both have learned that people learn better. We all have got this experience. People learn better when they are having fun, or not feeling in danger, or not feeling on the spot. So in a certain way, even the shy one that wouldn't come for a private lesson may find okay to come for a group and hide in the back. And then when everyone is laughing and having fun, feel confident enough to jump in and do what they want. And we didn't say today, because online you can just, you know, stop your video. But everyone is always welcome to decide, oh, I don't like this game, I'm not gonna play it. I think we are done for today. So thank you, Anne, for making the time. And it was a pleasure to work with you and to see everyone else. I'm just gonna stop the recording, not to close the video in a second, but thank you so much for coming. Anne?
Yes, it was wonderful to see everybody. Really enjoyed it. And yes, I totally understand what your comment at the end there, Anne, because I agree. It's often, it's the difficulty with playing games which only one person can play at a time, I think. But a lot of the games that we like are ones similarly where you get as silly as possible, and any attempt to get it right goes out the window. And you can play with the idea of, yes, just freeing up, directing a little bit and comparing the performance with one where you weren't doing that. And it's very interesting to see those sorts of things. And it's so important to have fun. I mean, I think that you loosen up naturally when you're having fun. That's what I love about playing games, really. And you don't have to be getting it right. You know, and some Alexander lessons can be a little bit like trying to get it right too much. So therefore you can alleviate that pressure by just mucking around a little bit. It's good. And thank you, Rossi, for putting on this Zoom meeting. And I hope we can do another one sometime, because it was so much fun and I enjoyed it. And if anybody just wants to say hi, that would also be nice, because we are going to stay, I think we're going to stay about 5 more minutes. Is that right?
Yes.